Let me just reframe that. You're trying to build something that you've never built before, to run a business you've never run before. You've gotten commitments from people who you've never met. They've paid you money for a date, and you're sitting there thinking, I don't even know how I'm going to fulfill. Like, how did you even manage that? Hey, what's up, guys? We had an awesome conversation on economics today with Alex Nelson, otherwise known as the wedding venue guy on Twitter, and he goes through every part of his business: revenue, costs, what it took to get them started up, where they are now, what the debt servicing is. And then at the end of the conversation, we actually went through 4 wedding venues for sale on Biz Buy Sell and just talked through, okay, what makes this attractive? What makes this a bad deal? What do you think? What are some other questions you might have? Just fascinating. And now's the part where I ask you to do something for me. I hope that you guys are liking this. If you are, please give this a like and subscribe wherever you listen to this, whether it's Spotify, Apple, or YouTube. It really helps me just see what content is good, what content is bad, and also helps the algorithm help those find this who are looking for content like this. So with that shameless plug, let's go ahead and hop into the show. I hope you enjoy. All right. Welcome everybody to Nikonomics. We have an awesome conversation today. We have Alex Nelson, otherwise known as the wedding venue guy. I've been following Alex for, gosh, when did you first get on Twitter?
About a little over a year ago now.
A little over a year ago. So I've been following Alex since he was a Wii account. And Alex is just fascinating. So he's actually built a wedding venue from the ground up in Iowa. It's called Midnight Gem, excuse me. And I think the coolest thing has just been able to see your journey, not only in written form, but like visually. You just announced a new venture that you have going on. So I thought it would be really interesting to get you on and have a conversation about the wedding venue business in particular, and then just any other thoughts you have on business in general. So did I do a good description of your background? Anything you'd add to that?
Yeah, no, that's great. That the nail on the head.
Okay, perfect. All right. So, in a sentence, what does your business do?
We're mostly like weddings and events or weddings focused. We
Yeah.
host a lot of weddings, but we can also do other events. I'm not doing a good job staying at one sentence here.
You host
Yep.
weddings and events in Iowa, and you built it from the ground up, right?
Yeah. Yep. So my wife and I built it from the ground up. We opened in October of 2022. It was quite the journey and quite the process. Took us about 2 years from start to finish, and then so it feels like we've been open forever at this point. And we started taking bookings like well before we were even done being built. I think we finished with around 100 weddings before like construction was
Wow.
finished, which is crazy.
That's awesome. How old are you?
I am 28, about to be 29, I think. Yeah.
Most 28, 29-year-olds aren't like, I want to open a wedding venue. Why the wedding venue? Like, why the event or wedding space?
Yeah, so it really started like my wife and I, we got married 5 years ago now. We've been together since middle school, actually. So we went to high school together and then we went to college together. So it was no
Oh,
surprise
you go
when
way back.
we go way back. So it was no surprise, like after we finished college, that we were probably going to get engaged soon. And then so my wife was already looking at venues before we were even engaged. She was going to be a teacher, so she wanted to get married during the summer when she was off. So she's looking at these venues and they're booking like a year, 2 years out. And we realized like we needed to book like a venue soon. Otherwise, we are going to have to wait like a whole nother year. So that was really like
Hmm.
the light bulb moment there. Like these big beautiful pieces of real estate are being booked 2 years in advance. What don't I know about this? What is going on? Sort of thing. So we went down the rabbit hole then. We obviously saw like all the venues in our area. When we got married, we're touring it. And then fast forward to like mid COVID, my wife was teaching, like I said, and it was not going great. It was just a mess for teachers. So she's looking for something else to do. She's always loved weddings. We had a bunch of friends and family getting married. So I went down like the wedding
Hmm.
planning path, but then we decided to go bigger a little bit. I always wanted to start my own business. I've always been interested in like finance, real estate, that sort of thing. So it was a mix of the two worlds for both of us. So it made sense at the time.
What were you doing at the time? So your wife was a teacher. What were you doing?
Yeah, so I went to Iowa, graduated with a business degree, applied for probably 100 jobs. My first job out of college was doing the one job I got was selling for a plumbing wholesale company. So they sell for like plumbing manufacturers.
Oh,
Definitely not
sounds
for me.
amazing.
Knew nothing, knew nothing about the plumbing industry or world. But yeah, so that didn't last very long there. Then I got a remote job working for a real estate brokerage, actually out of Minneapolis. So I was helping like with their online leads and doing some things like that, setting up appointments and whatnot. And then I got another remote job. I actually started working for my brother's startup that I did. So I did two remote jobs, and they both ended up being like full time. So I had two full time jobs for two
Yeah.
years, And that's basically how we saved up enough cash to be able to do anything.
So that's interesting. So you had some digital experience, like you had some marketing
Yeah,
experience before you hopped into this.
yeah, definitely learned a lot on that.
Interesting. Has that helped you at all?
Yeah, definitely. Just like from setting everything up and like dealing with like online leads and how to communicate that way, and CRMs, and then the marketing aspect of it as well. It's translated pretty well actually.
Awesome.
So yeah.
How did you find the business?
Yeah. So I built it from the ground up. So we knew we wanted to get in the wedding world or the venue world, and we knew we wanted to do it like around where we lived. So we had a pretty specific like radius that we were looking in, and we knew we wanted to build it from the ground up. There's just not a ton of like venues for sale, or at least weren't at the time. You're starting to see more and more
Mm.
pop up now, but we wanted to also do it different. We wanted to offer different things that other venues weren't offering, was like the big reason why we wanted to do it.
Like you're doing weddings, but what are the differentiators that you guys looked at and you're like, ooh, we should be doing a golf course? I
Yeah.
think I saw you have a little putting
Yeah,
green
so we have a putting
there, but
green. So that's a big part of it, is basically like the indoor outdoor like flow, right? It's like restaurants and everything, breweries are going to everything. So like the back wall of our building are big like bifold doors that open up all the way. And then we have this courtyard area, we call it, where you have like your cocktail hour that has like fire pits and games and the putting green. So that was a big part of it, is like having that indoor outdoor flow that no other venues had around us. And then also we design our building to have the bridal suite on one end and the groom suite on the other end. So they're on complete opposite
mm-hmm.
sides. So they basically get their own wing of the building, because that's also a big part of the day now, is having all your bridal party get ready
Interesting.
with you and hang out in the morning. A lot of venues, they went from not having any, just used to be like a ballroom, an open room sort of thing, and now they're turning into these like full on designated like properties, purpose built sort of thing. So like the
Yeah.
amenities and everything just keep getting piled on basically.
Why was the indoor outdoor flow thing important? I wouldn't even think of that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it goes down like the experiential like hospitality route of, it's all about like the
Mm,
experiences and like doing different things. It's more amenities, more experiences, about the Instagram photos, doing just different things than that haven't always been done in the past, I would say. Yeah, having more amenities like the putting green, that's something cool. Like everyone loves to take pictures at it, and do,
yeah.
and something else other than just like dancing to do throughout the night, I think is becoming more and more popular. So it's,
S-
throughout the night.
You found the real estate. How much was the real estate? Or if you're willing to share.
Yeah, so the land was 330, I believe, 330,000.
Okay. And then you had to do all of the planning and architecture, and I'm sure that cost. Like, how much was the planning and architecture? I don't even know the right words to use, but how much was the planning phase?
Yeah, so you got to get with like a civil engineer. They'll do like your site map and
Mm,
plan out like how big your building's going to be with your parking lot, and make sure you're hitting all like the codes there. So civil, and then architect. It's like your MEP, so your mechanical engineering, plumbing plans, all that. I want to say we were into it about 100 grand before we even knew if we were going to get approved financing wise. Like we had been talking to banks and stuff and making sure we're on the right path, but nothing was official until we had to keep the ball rolling, keep moving forward, just keep floating things.
Did you have in your mind, like, this is what I want the venue to look like? Or did they come to you with a, cool, Alex, you're buying a wedding venue? This is a typical wedding venue.
Yeah, so a
And then you
few of
sort of
like
pieced it
the contractors, GCs we worked with, we switched a few times. So we started with one that had built a venue, or a couple venues actually, and they had like ideas to give, but we wanted to do something completely different.
together. Okay.
So yeah, we always had the idea of what we wanted the venue to look like. We still have the original like drawing that we just drew like at our kitchen table.
Do you have it
And
framed?
honestly, we don't have it framed. We should have it framed, but
You
I
should
think I
do
have
it.
it somewhere. Yeah, we plan to eventually. But honestly, like from that original floor plan that just like my wife and I drew up, it stayed pretty true to what we were thinking. We tweaked some things that made a little more sense, but like we didn't have some big architect firm draw out and do everything for us and design it for us. Really, it was just off the top of the dome.
All right. So 300,000 ish for the land, 100,000 for all of that work before you even knew whether or not you're going to get approved. How much did it cost to build?
Yeah, yeah. So I don't know the breakdown exactly, but basically we ended up about 2.9 million all in. So that's the land, a parking lot, building, all the utilities, and then all of our like FF&E as well. So
How did you fund it?
yeah, so we went down like the SBA path, and we went like all the way down to the wire. We got like a term sheet, we got approved, but we were buying our land from this developer. So he was developing this big, like 48-acre parcel. We were just buying a chunk of it in the corner. It was nice because it had like city water and utilities ready to go, and it was going to be zoned right. Blah, blah. It was all good. But we bought it like before he was done. In our county, what they had is like a preliminary plat, and then a final plat the final plat needed to be done before we could actually get our building permits and start breaking ground and things like that, of this development. And so we bought it in the middle of all of that. And basically, it was supposed to be ready to build on July of 2021. It didn't end up being ready to build on until April of 2022. So we were back
Jeez Louise.
in, yeah, it was back in like March, April, May of 2021 that we're working on pricing and all this stuff. And COVID had just happened and it was still going crazy. Lumber was going crazy. Every time we found out that like it was getting delayed, we would go back and get new bids from all the subs and everything, and it'd go up 50, 60, 80 grand like every single time. So then we would have to go back to the bank and ask for more. So I think we got approved for three like raises on the loan, or three loan amount increases, and then on like the fourth one they turned us down. So then we kind of had to go back to the drawing board and
Screw the
scale
bank.
back. But then that whole time we were already like booking weddings and taking deposits in
Yeah.
and doing these things, so we had to like hold true to what we were saying the building was going to be, so it couldn't be anything significant. Anyways, we were very
So it wasn't stressful. It wasn't stressful at all at that time. It
very
was pretty.
stressful, and it's hard to even communicate like what that process was like, because it was just like a whirlwind and it was wild,
Dude,
and all the
dude,
moving
that is
pieces.
okay. Hold on. Let me just reframe that. You're trying to build something that you've never built before, to run a business you've never run before. You've gotten commitments from people who you've potentially never met. They've paid you money for a date to be completed. And you're sitting there thinking, I don't even know how I'm going to fulfill. Like, how did you even manage that? Did you have to do any refunds?
Yeah, so we gave ourselves, it was supposed to start building on July 2021. We didn't start taking bookings till July of
Mm-hmm.
2022 because like our build was supposed to be like 7-ish months. So we're giving ourselves like a 4 or 5 month cushion there and all this stuff. And we thought we were being smart at the time, clearly very wrong. So we didn't have weddings from like July until October. So I think we had to cancel 19 weddings, which was terrible. It was like the
Oh
worst
my
thing we
gosh.
ever had to do. That was not our intention. Like we didn't care about the money. We gave all the money back. If they wanted to stay with us, would give them like half off. So basically, they wouldn't have to pay like the remaining amount that they owed. And then for anyone that we had to move, we did like the research and found and contacted all the venues and gave them like a huge list of all the venues that were still open for their dates that they originally had.
I worked in hospice for 12 years, and that is an incredibly stressful environment. Okay. You're dealing with death and dying. But I've always told people there are like 4 events that are the most important in anyone's life. Birth and death are obviously the top 2, right?
Yep.
And if we screwed up a death, we didn't get to give a refund. We didn't get to 50% off your next visit, right? If like someone dies one time and we screwed that up, like it sucks. But then, and I would say this to my team, I'm like, then there is the birth of a child. I think that's like the number 3 most important moments in people's lives. But number 4 is a wedding. You picked a very stressful, happy, joyous, but also stressful industry to be in. It's pretty interesting because most of the time people don't think, oh yeah, the wedding industry, that is stressful. It's stressful.
It's stressful. And yeah, a lot of people don't, especially like the venue side. If you're one of the other vendors that are
Yeah.
like straight service side, I think people might see that, like you have to deal with brides, but I don't think people realize as much that how many like questions and then things that we have to deal with on just the venue side as well. Like you should see our inbox and the amount of questions that we get, and dad's calling and mom's
So
calling, and people want to swing by and like all these things when they already have like scheduled meetings, and it's pretty much never ending. But yeah, that's the world that we live in, and the rabbit hole that we went down. But and that's why they are expensive. There is a lot to it.
yeah,
Complain or see the big dollar amounts and think we're raking it in and things, but there's a reason for it. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows by any means.
let's talk a little bit about that now. So you've built the facility, you've got weddings coming in. How do you make money? You have a couple of revenue streams, just from what I've seen on Twitter. What are your revenue streams?
Yeah, so big things are rental income. It's just like what we're renting the building for. Like in that price, there's a bunch of
Okay.
things that are included as far as like tables, chairs. You get the whole building, the suites, all the furniture. There's 2 staff members on site. We'll have cleaners come in afterwards for you. All those things, that's all included in like the rental price. And then we also
Mm-hmm.
make money on the bar. So that's our next biggest
Okay.
revenue driver. They have to buy all the alcohol from us. do let them like pre-purchase like kegs and cases of wine and things like that. So there's that. Otherwise, we don't do a ton of like decor rental, or we don't do anything with the catering. They bring in their own caterers.
Yeah, I was going to ask so they bring in their own caterers. Have you developed like a preferred relationship with a certain catering company, or is there opportunities for that, or is it pretty siloed?
Yeah. So we have what we call like an open vendor policy. So really the couple can bring in whoever they want, as long as they're like licensed, insured, legit vendors. It's not their family cooking out of crock pots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But so they can bring in whoever they want. We do now have a preferred list. They don't have to pick from this list. And then on that like list, there's preferred vendors, and those vendors do give us a kickback a little bit now. We didn't
Cool.
want to do that right away. We were young, just getting in industry. We didn't want to go to all these vendors and be like, oh yeah, you give us a cut of your business just because we're going to refer people out to you or whatever. So we waited until we actually made relationships and figured out who we liked and didn't like, and who was doing a good job, and who we want to be associated with.
Yeah.
So we do that now. But yeah, the point of the open vendor policy is so that people can pick their own vendors. I think if you zoom out on the industry, you used to get married in most people used to get married at a church, and then you go to a hotel or some sort of ballroom, and they would usually do the catering, or you have to go through their one caterer. Where things shifted is going towards these what I call like standalone venues. So it's like a venue where you can do
Mm-hmm.
the ceremony, reception, cocktail hour all in one location. And I think part of the reason why those got so popular is that you can bring in your own vendors. Like you don't have to pay the hotel catering prices and be like locked into this one thing that they're just copy and pasting
Yeah.
over and over again. So we always wanted to hold true that they can bring in who they want and make it their own.
How do you get customers?
A lot of it is just word of mouth at this point. When you are having
Okay.
close to 70 weddings and you hold 300 people, so weddings are between 180 to 300, and you're doing 2 of them a weekend, so you're talking 300 to 600 people getting in the door every weekend. A lot of it is just coming from that. Now that they know that we're there, there's only so many venues around here, so you're basically bound to find us. Like if you're getting married in like the surrounding area, you're probably going to find our venue. Mostly
either through word of mouth, as SEO, I'm assuming.
We don't pay a ton or do much on SEO. I think I had someone look at our website, and our ranking was like not that great, but it doesn't matter at this point. But I'm not saying that we can't get better at it and do more things. But like I said, there's only so many.
What about like Facebook or Instagram?
We obviously have Facebook and Instagram, and I've done some boosted and some ads here and there, but they don't convert super duper well in my opinion. So I just don't do them a ton at this point. So yeah, we're not paying a ton in like marketing or paid ad spend by any means. The biggest thing is like we pay to be on the Knot and the Wedding Wire. The Knot bought the Wedding Wire a few years back, so it's all one platform. I think we pay $500 a month or so to be on that platform. It's like the big one in kind of the wedding world. They pay a ton for SEO. So if you Google wedding venues near me, that's probably going to be the top thing on Google is going to be the Knot and the Wedding Wire, where they have a list of 10, 20, 30 venues in the area.
So you don't even look at like your customer acquisition cost. You're not sitting here calculating, okay, how much did it cost for me to acquire one customer? Are you really busy? Like, how do you measure is it capacity? Are you like, okay, what's our occupancy rate, or what percentage of potential filled weddings do we have? Like, how do you measure your operational efficiencies?
Yeah. So there's what you call like a peak season. In every area around the country is a little different because it's mostly around weather. So like for us, it's May through up until Thanksgiving, pretty much. That's our peak season. So we expect to pretty much book every Friday, Saturday throughout that season. And then off season or off peak would be like March, April, November is what we call off peak, and then it's like May through October is like peak, and then off season would be like December, January, Feb. So December through February, we're not getting many weddings. It's a slow season. If we get anything there, it's honestly a bonus sort of thing. And then we expect to be full during peak, and then off peak is usually where we're booking like only Saturdays for that time. So all of April we had all of our Saturdays, but not Fridays.
Talk about like high level. For this one location, how much revenue are you doing? What are your gross and net margins on that business?
Yep. So last year we did 7.
And if you're not willing to share like specific, sorry, go ahead.
Nope, I will. And you can go to my Twitter and find, it used to be my pinned tweet for the longest time, like 2023 numbers. And I should know these probably off the top of my head, but don't. But yeah, so last year we did 780 in revenue. And I think our NOI
Hmm.
or net on that was like 340, 350 or so. That's not
Wow.
including debt. But
Sure.
yeah, and then I think we should do more like closer to 900,000 this year. We raised prices, raised bar prices, getting more weddings, getting more non-wedding events in there, getting those referral kickbacks start coming in. So those sort of things added some more revenue drivers there. Yeah, my thought was like we'll do more like nine probably this year. I think we'll top out around a million or so per year going forward after this, and that's the goal. And, one location
What?
you could do more than that, but you're probably adding in other revenue drivers. You're probably doing more rental decor. You're getting into catering or things like
Yeah.
that. So
I'm just taking a guess here. $340,000 NOI based on what you told me, 2.9 million all in. I'm guessing your debt servicing on that is $250,000 a year.
no, we got lucky.
No, not even close.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're way lower. I think it's about
Oh,
170
awesome.
per year. The rate we got on
Cool. So you're
that
in a
was like
really good spot.
yeah, right now. We'll have to refi and we have 5 year balloon. Um, it'll change eventually,
That's
but
awesome.
yeah.
Is that normal? These like 780 top line, 340 NOI. What is that? 40% net margins. Is that normal for wedding venues?
Yeah, I think it is. Overhead is just not a ton, right? Like we had one person be on like a salary, and that's our manager. She's doing the tours, all like we do a 3 month meeting, a 2 week meeting, so she's doing all the meetings and answering all the leads and inbox and those sort of things, the stuff throughout the week. And then on event day, we're paying like 2 people hourly to be there. We actually outsource our bartenders to a traveling bartender company, and then
Sweet.
the couple has to pay for those bartenders like on the bartender tab. So it's basically a wash for us.
I believe bartenders are called mixologists. I think you have to legally call them. So before I get to some rapid fire questions, let me ask you two last questions. What does your cash conversion cycle look like? I'm assuming you're getting like 50% up front and then 50% on the back end, or is it all on the back end, or is it all up front? Like, how do you charge?
Yeah, so it's 50% down to book. So people right now are looking at 2025 and 2026 for the most part. So 50% down to book to hold that date, non-refundable, and then the remaining
Mm.
50% would be due 3 months out from their date. I would say that's pretty standard. I've seen it broken up into threes. I've seen it broken up into fours. I've seen 50% down now, 50% down 6 months out. Kind of just depends. We have a 3 month meeting.
So you're carrying a lot of cash because people are booking these events far in advance, right?
Correct.
So you probably just have a lot of cash on your balance sheets. How do you manage that cash? Is it just sitting in cash? Are you parking it in treasuries, or like what's your cash management strategy?
Yeah, yep. Parking and I hold a lot of them. Meow, if you ever heard of them or seen them. Brandon is active on Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh, and then I think they're checking. I'm getting like 5 point, even if I leave in checking. Yeah, holding those deposits, usually sitting on a lot of cash,
And
which
then
is nice. Go ahead.
that is awesome. In this space, like how are businesses like this valued? Is it off of a multiple of EBITDA? Is it off of the value of the land? Is it like a combination of the two?
Yeah,
What's common?
because it's pretty niche, and a lot of these venues are just mom and pop owners, right? There's not, for the most part, no like big PE companies coming in and rolling them up. If they're bigger,
Yet.
they're getting more thrown into the hotel space. So the closest thing to it is like a
Yeah.
hotel. So however you want to value like a hotel. What I'm seeing for on venues for sale, and I looked at quite a few, especially when I first got on Twitter, is getting thrown a ton of opportunities, and I was thinking I'd maybe go buy a bunch more. I since regressed from that strategy, but the issue that I would see is they want to value the business on some sort of multiple 2 to 3 times EBITDA, and then they wanted to throw like a real estate value in there. But it just doesn't make sense because with interest rates and everything to go get the debt for that. Like the NOI won't come close to actually covering that
Covering
debt
it.
services. So it just doesn't make sense. So me personally, it should just be more valued one or the other, either putting like some sort of like business value on it, or you're just valuing the real estate on some sort of cap rate or however you want to do it. But you can't like,
Is there a standard cap rate that you would value these at?
I haven't seen a standard. Again, closest thing you could
No. Okay.
find is like a hotel, but it's
Okay.
more of a specialty
That's fair.
property, so it should be like 10 to 15, I would say. That's just ballpark. It really
Yeah.
depends, location, tons of other
Okay.
things matter, but it's tough.
I have some rapid fire questions for you, and then I want to go and look at a couple deals, see if there's any. I don't even know. I haven't researched, so this might be a dud. But
Cool.
okay, rapid fire questions. What do you love about this business?
Yeah, the cash cycle is the best. Probably is getting that cash up front. Always sitting on a lot of
Yeah,
cash helps me sleep
that's a
at
great
night.
answer.
So,
What do you hate about it?
what do I hate about it? It is
Yeah.
It is stressful. It's a high stress day. Anything that's not perfect at the building or the venue, there's always maintenance stuff. But like anything that's not perfect for like their wedding day, like we're stressing about getting it fixed like right then and there. It's not like we can call someone and get it fixed in a week. Like it needs to be fixed.
Yep.
So stressful.
That's true. What are you obsessed with right now?
What am I obsessed with right now?
This could be business or non-business.
It's a great question. Probably Twitter's been my obsession over like the last year.
Twitter?
Twitter, yeah. Learning a lot on there,
Okay.
meeting a lot of cool people, building some cool things on there.
Building a network, building an audience.
Yeah. It's been nice. I've never thought of myself as a content creator. I hate that word, but it's been cool to be on there. So that, and then I'm fascinated with a lot of different businesses. I'm the wedding venue guy on Twitter, but I don't want to only be that. Like, we are buying like a coffee company right now. My wife's opening like a baby boutique. I'm starting a marketing agency.
That's awesome.
I'm partnering on that project he mentioned at the beginning with Ben Wolf and his team. It's a huge like landscape hotel. So all the things I like.
You've seen my business partner, Chris, pivot from mobile home park guy to Chris Kerner, right? He still has that handle, but it's possible.
It is.
It'll happen.
I know I need to.
I'm not worried about it.
To study up on, go way back on his Twitter and see how the transition went. I would like that.
You should. All right. Last rapid fire question. Many guys who own businesses like myself that have cash flowing businesses, they look at real estate and they're like, man, I wish I could get into the real estate business. It's just so easy, steady Eddie. And many guys in real estate who have real estate businesses are like, man, I wish I could get into cash flowing businesses. So everybody's jealous of everybody else. What business or industry are you jealous of right now?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, shiny object syndrome is a thing, especially when I'm talking about Twitter and seeing everyone on there. Like I said, I have the venue, it's real estate, then it's also business, servicey. I'm doing all these things that are very in-person and heavy. So anything like online that's like super scalable and like low overhead,
Okay. That's a fair answer.
low like startup costs. Everything I have done to this day is like very capital intensive and in person and tough. So anything like that, I get jealous of. So-and-so started it for $5 to $10 grand and they scaled it to $150 grand a month.
$100 million company scale. All right. I love it. Love it. All right. Let's look and see if we can find maybe just one or two deals. So the point of this kind of section is we've talked about the wedding venue business up until this point. So you've given us amazing answers, right? Like general revenue numbers, general cost to get into it, how it's run, margins, those types of things. And hopefully we're taking that context and just applying it to businesses that we see. And so two things I'm curious about. One, which of these businesses are you like, oh, that's interesting, I want to learn more? And then two, as we look at those businesses, what follow-up questions would you have? Because obviously these listings are not comprehensive. So is that fair?
That's fair.
Fair. All right, cool. Let's go here to first to the filters. I'm going to say keyword. Should I just do wedding venue?
Yeah, probably best.
This is where things are going to fall apart because we'll see if there's anything even on here. All right, wedding venue, apply. We got 63 results. Yes. All right, and we got it sorted from highest cash flow to lowest. Instagram worthy events and catering business in trendy downtown North Carolina. Cash flow 763. Purchase price 2.7 million. Red flag, green flag, yellow flag.
Cash flow seems very, very great for what they're pricing it at.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think so.
Wait, so this is a low price you're thinking?
I would say, from what I've seen in the past, yeah. Not saying that it's not a fair price and what it should be, but...
Walk me through, like, why is it low? Help me understand why you think it's low. What should it be?
Yeah, I was looking at a lot of venues for sale last year, and I think people were just unrealistic. So, I don't think it's truly low. 750, times 3, let's say 2.2.
Because what is that number? 763 into 270 is a cap rate of 6%.
Is that right?
I don't know. Let's do some math. So 3 and the purchase price was 2.7. Oh, Samson, I was way off. It's a 28 cap rate.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Okay. And then
edit that out. Interesting. Okay, so yeah, back to your point. Like that's a really good cap rate.
Yeah, good cap rate. And then if you're going more like multiple wise and just go like straight like business, I think it's like a 3.5 multiple.
Let's see. Could be that the real estate's not included.
Yeah.
Maybe so that would be a good question.
Yep.
Is the real estate included in this or not included? Furniture, fixtures, and equipment are included. It looks like the real estate is not.
Yeah. See, that's
No, it
yeah.
is. Furniture. Interesting. Anyways, okay, so that would be something you'd want to ask is, okay, what is actually included? What about this one? Pasadena, Texas, wedding events venue on a 4+ acres, real estate, SBA approved, $3.5 million asking, $670,000 cash flow.
Terrible.
What are your initial thoughts on this? It's not terrible or it is terrible?
It's not terrible, but I need to know more. So what I like to do,
Okay,
let's
what
get
would
a loan
what would we need to know?
calculator. Look at SBA loan right now. If you go 7A, you're going to be at like a 10, 11% interest rate. So let's say even 10% interest rate, 25-year term.
Yeah, so
Three.
it's a 25-year term. Okay, so I'll
say you finance
0.1 divided by 12, $330 a year.
Yeah, it's called $330 a year. Almost
Would
cash
be
flow. Net.
cash flow 670.
Yeah.
So you're more than covered from a debt service coverage ratio, right?
Yeah, it's actually not terrible.
And then the six, and let's see what it is on a cap basis. So 670, it's a cap, 19% return. So that's in that range that you were talking about, 15 to 20%
Yep.
cap rate for specialty businesses like this.
Yep.
That makes sense. Okay. What would you want to know more about this business? So this is in Pasadena, Texas. What stands out to you? I'd be curious to know how.
It's hard to tell in that picture, but does that look like a tent to you?
It does look like a tent to me, but I also don't know because these are glass windows on the side, right? They could have just had it
maybe
decorated that way.
Obviously, like you're buying the real estate's important, but the majority of the receptions are happening at
Is
tent.
that a deal breaker for you?
Personally, yeah. Just
you want the real estate?
I do. I want the real estate, and I don't want it to be operating out of a tent. It just seems like a headache, and something's bound to happen, and you're gonna have to replace it all the time. It's just not like a true like physical structure, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I think you can dress them up nice. You can do some wedding there, but I don't think long term people are gonna love that.
What about this one? I want to get into the wedding business. Hill Country wedding venue. I have no idea where Hill Country is in Texas, but it just sounds beautiful. $1 million asking price. Cash flow is $300,000. So that is a very good multiple. If you consider purchasing, okay. So the real estate's not included.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But it's revenue of $1 million, revenue of $950, cash flow of $307. So not quite as good as your business from a margin standpoint, but still decent margins.
Decent.
Let's see here. Real estate is owned. Doesn't say what the real estate would be purchased for, but would this be something you're interested in or no?
Personally, no, because that's not. I just don't want to lease it. But the business,
interesting. Okay,
buying the building, paying all the tax benefits of real estate and paying it down and holding it long term. That's my personal philosophy. These numbers are better than what I was seeing about a year ago. I haven't really looked a ton right now, so maybe it seems like some sellers are being a little more realistic, sort of thing. But yeah, obviously I have to verify the cash flow. Some of these are going off, SDE. Like you gotta verify all their add backs. Other questions I would want to know is how involved are the sellers? Are they like the ones like we don't work the events ourselves? I'm not out there every single weekend working weddings. 40 weekends out of the year is just not realistic if you want to have any sort of family life. Unless that's your thing.
Where do you look for businesses? Is it biz buy sell, or do you have a place where you're like, this is where you look for wedding venues?
Yeah, I think biz buy sell is fine. That's actually where I found the coffee company that I'm buying, coincidentally. Venues though are like in a weird niche. Like they could fall on Zillow. Like it could just be listed as like a big property or like a house sort of thing. It could be on there, it could be on LoopNet, it could be on biz buy sell. It really just depends. Like I said, it falls into a weird category of real estate and business sort of thing. Sometimes both. It depends how people are looking at it. But yeah, you'll see them listed with like residential brokers. You'll see them listed with business brokers or commercial real estate brokers all over the map. There's really no like standard right now.
Interesting. Dude, this was a great conversation. Thank you for walking us through your business. Thank you for looking at a couple deals with us. Where can people find you? Is Twitter the best place?
Twitter's pretty much all I'm on right now. So Twitter, DM me on Twitter.
All right. Cool. This was fantastic. I can't wait to check in with you in a year and see all the 17 venues you own and operate as you take over the world as an operator. And we'll talk to you later.